Well, good day, everyone, and welcome to this once again a HESS webinar. This one is going to be a great one. It's with our partners SIG, our Strata Information Group. They are going to do something, a session that many of our institutions have really been very curious about, and I'm glad that we're doing it. This is going to be focused on faculty portals in Slate and using it as a more comprehensive tool for enrollment. So I'm very excited about that. Anything that we can do, our institutions can do to boost enrollment, the better. But Brian Reagan, he is I'll call him the Slate guru. How about that? We had a debate about what his formal title was, but he's practice manager for the Slate and Slate integrations and just Slate in general, Slate guru. We're very glad to have him from SIG, who is a great partner for us. So, Brian, without further ado, I will turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. What we want to do today is talk a little bit about the way that Slate uses some of these new portal functionality within the system to show data within an environment. So please feel free to ask questions throughout. I know the chat's open, and don't hesitate to stop me if I say something that's confusing. And if the slides disappear at any point, don't hesitate to let me know. But my name is Brian Regan. I lead the Slate team here at SIG. And I come from 12 years now at SIG, been working in Slate the last 7 or 8. I used to be on the business intelligence team, Banner student team, Banner technical team, and I come from the admissions and enrollment world. I was director of admissions and financial aid technology before I joined SIG as a part of this. And now we are a platinum partner with Technolutions, as well as a partner with Ellucian, Anthology, AWS, and several other technology vendors out there. So we are sort of technology agnostic in this space as a part of working with it. So what we're going to talk about today is why we set up these portals, how we set them up, a bit about the layout, and then I'm going to take you into some examples and actually show you what the various pieces are. So we'll leave the PowerPoint for a while and poke around the various systems. But why did we do a portal instead of just making everyone go into Slate and look up the records? And what it was, we sort of found that the training for casual users, not your admissions counselors, but faculty who are going in periodically, or athletic coaches, or sort of these third-party users, the learning curve of Slate was higher than they needed for their day-to-day job. So we need to give them an easy way to get into the system and navigate around. And so we did that by establishing a portal that provides sort of this curated experience. We can expose them just the information that we need. They don't have to search all of Slate. You may have heard of a new Slate tool out there called Concierge. And Concierge is an alternative method for doing this, although Concierge is still somewhat new, and some of the advanced portal functionality doesn't quite work in Concierge. We are working to convert things over as best we can into Concierge, but some of the things I'm going to show you today still work best as a standalone process. And you'll often hear myself or members of my team talk about this idea of if it's not in Slate, it doesn't exist. And so we want the faculty, we want the coaches in there logging their interactions, sending their emails, sending text messages, so that I have a way to capture those interactions, can report off them, admissions counselors can see what's going on. If a student's calling 10 offices and trying to play the offices off one another, we're able to go in and sort of handle that situation by seeing it all on the same timeline. And, Slate has good security, but there are things in Slate that we always wish should be a little more granular. And by putting them in a portal, we can enforce a little bit more granular control within that portal experience so that we have everything we need as a part of it living within the portal. And it was just a way for faculty to access data securely, especially in the reader process where, I've run issues where schools are literally printing out the application, they're leaving it on a desk or a table in a conference room with a little library card that people sign out when they want to read the file. Or in 2024, right? Paper is the least secure and most inefficient way to move information. So having something digital updated in real time, and in some of these cases, people want to implement this to get rid of a third-party system. So maybe they had an athletic CRM like FrontRush or one of the other ones out there, and they want to bring that in-house and not pay that license cost, not maintain that integration. So we can build a one-time portal that gets used after that there's no maintenance cost on, and then you're just adding new features as they come out. So some of this was a way to decrease that sort of third-party use. We see this also even in the advancement space. Slate has an advancement module where people have products like EverTrue. And if we want our gift officers logging their actions, we can give them a customized portal for managing their prospect portfolio and kind of get rid of an EverTrue or one of these other products that might be out there. And when my colleagues and I do student success, a lot of what we focus on student success is I've got these sets of third-party products. How can I collapse that down into one unified database experience? And Slate portals are often a way to accomplish that. So in terms of the setup, the person does have to be a user in Slate. However, they don't necessarily need any permissions in Slate because we're going to be using the portal security to drive things. So what we often do is have some user scope fields that say, these are the coaches, the coaches for these teams. They're in charge of these programs. And then we do what we call an independent subquery to check on their roles behind the scenes and sort of invoke those roles as a part of it. Now, we always want to have a way out. We need a super user role that someone can go in and say, I need to see all athletics or I need to see all students no matter what. And then if you've got a large base of users, then we probably want to do a feed from your SIS, whether that's Banner, Workday, et cetera, to create these users over in the Slate system. And then if should one of them be terminated or leave the institution, we update it to deactivate their record. And in some cases, right, we're doing this to be very secure, so they can only see their students. But sometimes when we give away to search any student, so we have to decide, do we need an all students tab? Can they search every student in the system? And we give them that capability, or they just stay locked into their very specific area as a part of it. And what we find on a user screen here, if you've been inside Slate, this will look very familiar to you. This first tab here would be all the user details. We'd have their roles and permissions, which again could be blank. And then what happens here when we get to details, this is where we start assigning security. So I can see here, I've given myself, I'm the football coach. I am the director for the certificate in trauma and marriage and family therapy. I'm responsible for the piano applicants coming in. And this is an honors college here at Wheaton College in the global public health that I also read things for. So I might have several faculty portals and my roles are defined here as a part of it, and they can be multi-select if I need to be multi-select. But if I'm in the Slate database, these are just user scope fields that I'm creating and assigning to a prompt list as a part of it. And then inside my query, I'm writing a Slate query that basically says, hey, I want to take the sport, in this case, the student has, and I want to go out to the user table, and I want to see if that user has that sport assigned. And if it does, then that means they're going to be able to see the student. So if I'm the football coach and they're a football student, they're going to appear in my tab because I will have a sport code of football and I'll have a user security code of football. Those matching means that I'm able to see them on my tab. So in terms of the layout of the portal, we had a lot of discussion about should we do a data set or a user within Slate. And during the early years, we sort of vacillated between both in the sense that we had data sets and users as a part of this. And sorry for the confusion. We'll go into Slate shortly, still on the slides for now. So here, if we have a data set, they don't get access to Slate proper. And this sort of became the driving factor that pushed us towards the user portal, because what we're finding is that people want their users to be able to go into Slate to send mass emails or mass texts. And now with Active Scheduler, especially for student success, we have to be able to let them create an Active Scheduler. We can't do that as a data set. We have to do it as a user. So more and more now we're using user scope portals inside of Slate as opposed to these data set portals that had previously been delivered by the Technolution staff. And so when we're within Slate, and if you have Slate access, there's some QR codes here that will take you to the knowledge base articles about how to build out what I was going to do inside there. And what we've got here is we can see we have several tabs. And on those tabs, we can display different information. So I have my All Students tab. I have my application starters, my incomplete applications, and my admitted students. And I'm defining those here where I've got my label. And you can see where I have this data tab, all apps awaiting submission, etc. Well, these correspond to a method in the Slate portal. And then if you need the CSS styling, you can actually kind of get this off the donor portal. So if you're familiar with Slate, there's a clean Slate environment. If you provision the advancement showcase, you'll be able to see this data table here with the right CSS to make these menu tabs appear across the top. But what we're really doing on the side is we're saying, hey, I've got a method called all apps, and if someone clicks all apps, they should go to that particular view, or if they click incomplete, they should go to incomplete, and so forth. And then once we're there, we have our data table. So here's our incomplete applications that I can view, and I can see, column-based information. I can search. And then once I click on the student here, it will bring me into their record. But this data table is just a custom HTML item within a portal. And if you're familiar with Slate, they use a language called liquid markup to do some groupings of things. And what you can see here is we are doing some groupings where we said, hey, we've got a query out here called students that gets all our students. I'm going to alias each student in that table to be item, and then I'm going to display their data based upon it. And right here, I'm drawing another method, this AS selected student, to be able to open up a new portal view and show what that student's going to be able to see. So on the back end, I have either a query that has an output node of students, or I built it as a dictionary and then named it students. And once I have that, then it will bring me out to this particular area here where I can see information about the student. What is their major? Who is their assigned admissions counselor? And then I can also see biodemographic. I could email them from here. I could text them from here. I could log interactions. I can see their admissions checklist, and I could display other things as a part of this. And then I could go on to my other areas and see those out there. So once I click those links, because I have that selected student in there, this corresponds to a portal method inside of Slate that then calls up the view that displays my information. And so if you're familiar with portal building in Slate, you'll see the command here does correspond to the action on the student view, portal method here, and that brings up the view of selected student. And then I pass in my app GUID, which is defined as a unique identifier on the query that goes with that particular view. And we also have the option where we can download things to Excel. So I could have a list of people and have a link out there where someone can click in and download the list to Excel as a part of it. And this is just a special output type in Slate. You can see I still have an action, but my output type is now Excel spreadsheet. And then this would pop out an Excel spreadsheet predefined with their columns. So this can become a miniature reporting tool as well if their reporting needs are somewhat minimal, and we can get away with being 2-3 Excel spreadsheets as a part of it. I'm going to pause here before we go on. I'll actually take you into the portal here and show you a bit of everything I just showed within the slides. And so what we're going to do is come out here. And so we can see within the portal, I have my various methods being laid out, right? I have something that calls up my tabs. Then my tabs are all applications, inquiries, app starters, incomplete, and completed in this case. I have my various subsections where I can get to selected applications. And then I've got some different things to do, different commands. I want to send a text. I want to log interaction. And then I've got my various Excel spreadsheets here that I can run as a part of it. And I have my different views here. These views are just HTML tabs. So when I come in here, I have a table that is being defined as part of this to display the results. I also have the ability, when I'm going to log interaction, that I pop up the Slate interaction form, and I use that interaction to log a part of it. And we'll show an example of that in just a moment here. All of these are being governed by queries on the bottom that go out to select my data. So for example, if I want to see completed applications, I'm bringing in their name and their email, phone number, street address, their application major, where they are in the workflow, and then a way to access the reader if I need to as a part of it. So what ends up happening when I go out into the portal, I have my various tabs here. You can see I've limited it down to my test record. And if I was to click on one of these, it brings me up into a nice portal view where I can see, okay, there's the email that I want to send them with. This person does not have an address. So there's no mailing address. No cell phone here, but we do have a cell phone that's clickable. And then, I can see some details about them. I can see their checklist. I can see the schools they've attended. I can see the interactions. If I want to view the email that was sent, I can click on this and it brings up kind of a little note of what email was sent as a part of it, if I need to see specifics or see interactions. And, I have the ability also to launch the reader. So if, for example, I want to actually read this student and I was ready to read this application, I could click View Materials here. This would bring me into the reader. I could add them to my queue and I could start reading this student right away. If you're familiar with Slate and you've had trouble getting your faculty to navigate into the reader, or they've had issues with it, this is a really nice way where we can give them a list of students they need to take action on. They can come into the reader this way and make a decision on that application. In some cases, we've dispensed with the reader altogether, and they actually read the application within the portal. And then you can have them do different things. Then once they're done, they can close the window and they can come back out to their list and go on to the next student and so forth. And again, these are all searchable for various things. You could search terms and so forth, and they could see all their inquiries, app starters, whatever piece they're looking at that point in time. And so how do we do some of this? So, when it comes to taking a look at the emails, interactions, and texts, what's happening behind the scenes is, we have the ability to email a student. It depends on your portal, right? You saw the email for that one was on the left. This screenshot I have is on the right. We have that ability to see responses and send out messages. So if we're going to email a student, this is just a normal Slate command. This is how they launch an email. All we have done is take up their lookup message command that exists in basic Slate, made it a compose, and then we pass in the information that we need. So this is the HTML that lives behind that button where we're displaying the student's email so that it launches up and sends from here. What's nice about this is going to save the student's timeline Slate. It's an email from Slate. If we have snippets, we can use them. We can use First Draft, which is their chat GPT tool. We could add a Slate video. All of these things are available as a part of it. Likewise, on the SMS, it's also a pop-up where we take the code from that Slate proper, pop up the messages, and then you can see we have to pass in a phone number. So we do have to use a Slate texting phone number so that they have something to find. And what we typically do is give all the faculty the same number. And then that way, as they send out the text messages, it's one number. When they come back into the inbox, we look at the originator who sent the number and we route the text back to that faculty member as a way to send the code out. And likewise, the new interaction button, We also sort of take this from the Slate form, but there's a nuance of Slate in the last year or so where you have to have this hidden field of duplicate interactions to allow interactions to come in again. Otherwise, they'll start updating those interactions. So on our forms, and we'll take a look at this in a moment, you'll see that we have the ability to display those types of interactions and then log them. And then, of course, if we're sending SMS messages, we need a way to gather a reply. So we send a text message as Slate. It comes back into the inbox. We need a way to go out into that inbox and grab those messages. So what this code does here is it looks for the student's ID, goes out and sees, do they have any messages that haven't been responded to, puts them in there. And then the most important thing is once the faculty sends that text again, we need to have the send and resolve button, because in Slate, the way you clear an inbox is by resolving. So when we send and resolve, it clears that text messages from the inbox and shows it as being responded to. So the codes I'm here, if you're a Slate developer, this is the code you really want, because this is going to do that resolving of the inbox as a part of it. So with that said, I want to go a little more show and tell here. We're going to go out and talk about how this looks in student success. So within student success, I would have a portal, much like this one, that the faculty member is going to access. If they're a faculty, they can go to their courses and see the students that they have, see which classes they're teaching, and then get to their roster. If they're an advisee or advisor, they'd see their advisees here and be able to go to my students. Now, if I'm just a faculty member, I just get the courses tab. If I'm just an advisor, I just get my students. So it's only if I'm both that I see all of these tabs. And then I have my support tickets. These are if someone's raised an early alert on a student. And then I have my find a person here. So if we look at my find a person, we're going to go grab our test record out here. And what's going to happen is we're going to find our test record. And we can see here where I can either submit an early alert or I can view a student record. And when I view the student record, this brings me into another one of these Slate portals where I've got information on the student record. I can see there, this is a test record, so it's all blank. But yeah, I can see ethnicity and cell phone. I could send a text from here. I could send an email. I could change different information, so I could come out and see some of their advisory support services, or I could see transcripts I've received. I could have these milestones checked. So based upon actions they've taken elsewhere in Slate, I check these boxes off, and they can sort of see where they are in the student's process. I could see all of their courses they're taking. This is a colleague school, so because colleague really stores the courses into tables, it's just much easier for us to display current courses and course history. If we're coming at this from a banner school or a workday school, we combine this all together, putting the most recent courses at the top, and then the next set of courses down. I can see any early alerts. I could also raise an early alert on a student from here that would pop up and allow me to do an early alert screen on them. And I've been having really bad Wi-Fi today. I apologize. I'll show you that a different way. I also have a note screen here where I can pop up and leave some notes on a student as a part of it, and then I can go out and submit those notes. And my network is definitely yelling at me. And then also out here, we have our student success network where we can see the people working with this particular student. They're still defining these roles at this institution, so they're not populated right now for the people that are working with this student. But this is a way that you could have your faculty and staff out here being able to find a student, see information about them, and use the power of Slate to curate that data and send it over, but try to give it more of a Amazon type experience where, you know, it's very, very easy and so forth. So those options do all exist within the Slate world. So if we take another look here, so some of our security considerations that we might have as a part of this. You know, we certainly have all sorts of ways we can secure data in Slate, right? We could do it with populations where they can only see certain populations, and they can only see certain people are there and do certain things. You know, we could do it with concierge now. But you know, again, there's still a few limiting factors that will hopefully be worked out soon in concierge to be able to access everything as a part of it, but it remains an option. And then the real question is querying, right? Because I can do those Excel spreadsheets, but I can't, you know, replace a true Slate query that's customizable. I can only pop out a spreadsheet. Yeah, but it is going to be on there. So those options do exist and have ways to get around them if you need to. But then we would put them inside of Slate proper for that. But the goal here is really having people have that seamless experience. I could stick the URL to this in a Canvas shell and have them access the raise and alert from a Canvas shell. I could have people do this as part of a Pathify or other portal. They could even access it from their SSB student advisor profile. But what we've seen a lot of schools of late come to us too is, you know, they either want to get their faculty more involved in the admissions process, but in a controlled way, or they want to replace EAB Navigate with a portal like the one I just showed. And you know, the nice thing with Slate, right, is that if you've got a Slate instance and you're paying for admissions or advancement, they don't charge you for the student success piece. You can just bring in your student success and start using it for that. The cost is in having either the know-how on staff to build these portals or having someone like myself come in to build these portals for you to get you started, do the knowledge transfer, and then you're up and running as a part of it. I'm happy to show you the portals or talk more technically about any of the pieces out there, but please feel free to ask questions, and we'll be happy to take you through. And then I'll also put up here, there is an email and QR code that gives you more information about SIG. But what questions can we answer for people?
Don't be shy. We've got the expert here.
Yeah, so general timeline, it takes about a month to a month and a half to do the integration with the SIS, and then about another month to build the portal. So we're usually in the 3 to 4 month time frame to stand one of these up with testing. If we're going to integrate more than just the SIS, so like some schools will have us also integrate DegreeWorks so that we have degree audit data available, or they want us to integrate with the LMS so that we can raise early alerts off like students not submitting courses from Canvas or D2L, then that would add a little more time on to the general build. But we have a pretty full-fledged integration for Colleague Workday and Banner, and then you know, we would go through there. And then, you know, with Anthology, I have done integrations of Slate to Anthology to create records. I have not done much with Anthology coming out to the Slate environment to populate for student success. But we have done some Anthology integrations to create the admissions applications as students on the database server side. And we did record this with all the code, so you've got all the examples out there for those who want to attempt it. This is a SIG session. As we always say at Slate Summit, that means you're going to see some code. So
this will be posted on the HESS OLC site, the online learning or online leadership community website, and I'll give you that. You have to have a login and username, but it will be available.
Thank you, Keith. What other questions?
Please feel free to come off mute and ask any questions to Brian. Don't be shy.
Let's see, the other thing let me pull up the another portal that you might be interested in is our tutoring portal that we've got schools now using for to do tutoring instead of an EAB Navigate that works in a somewhat similar way to the pieces that I've talked about so far. It's the wrong school. It's a single sign-on today. Okay. So as far as some of these other portal options go, we have some other portals out here that we're able to do different tutoring on. And I lost my share. There it is. So, we have one thing out here where we can come out and say that we need to come in and have my tutors enter information. So, for example, I can come out here and say, well, I need to schedule one of my tutors. So I've got a tutor out here of Brian Regan, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to check on Brian Regan's status and figure out when he's available to tutor somebody as a part of it. And so that'll load up in a second here. And then once we have the tutoring established, we can give the ability for them to go out and schedule a tutoring appointment on the front end here. Oops, I don't have a login for that one. One moment. So once I've got my tutor up here, I can say, okay, they're able to tutor for these courses. And if I want to see what their availability is, I can come down and say, okay, they're available from 9 to 11 at this campus, 10 to 4 at this campus. They'll do virtual on Fridays. And I can start scheduling them for additional tutoring for my start and end date and say when they're available based upon what they tell me. And then I could come out here and see what appointments they have, and I can sort of manage all my tutors from that system. But then if I come back to my portals out here, and we'll do the active scheduler one. And we'll borrow my colleague Catherine Lucas here. So if Catherine wants to tutor, she can come out and say, well, I want to see which tutors are tutoring at Columbia. And I can see, oh, these two tutors are tutoring. I want to see what Brian's tutoring, or what Catherine's tutoring here. And so then I can click on this and see, okay, the times they have available are on the 13th at 9 a.m. I can continue to the registration here, and I can say, all right, well, I want to meet on campus. I want to give the course, and then what I need help preparing for. And this will actually create that tutoring appointment that's available on the schedule. So this becomes kind of an integrated tutoring system to have out here that exists within Slate. And now we can also start using this for student success purposes. So for example, if I have ping set up, which is the URL tracking, and I'm seeing where the students are going. If someone goes to the tutoring website and they spend 45 seconds on the tutoring website, and I see they're not enrolled in tutoring, I may want to put them on a call campaign or an email campaign to go out and have tutoring engage with them as a part of it. So those options do exist, as well as some of their stuff we're doing inside student success. So yeah, so we've done quite a bit on the SSO side of things. In fact, I have a school in California that's doing their commencement as a Slate event, and that was SSO based. We've also built a student-facing portal that you can give out to the students that links you out to self-service banner. It also connects that to schedule a tutor that you just saw, as well as one of our schools is actually using this active scheduler for their faculty and staff office hours. So they schedule appointments with their professors using the active scheduler inside of the Slate system. And that is all run on SSO. So you do pass it into the SSO override, and then you have to do a wrapper on your URL to invoke the SSO. And once you have that on, then it will just invoke the SSO. But we have some schools in California doing their academic renewal processes, petitions for graduation, placement testing, all utilizing SSO as a part of it. Good questions.
Looks like there's another one. Oh, you've already answered that SSO issue. Anyone else? Gone.
All right. Well, welcome to the deep, dark world of Slate student success and portals. And if you have questions, we'd love to hear from you. But thank you all so much for your time today.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Brian, this was wonderful. Thank you so much. You've added so much value to our community, and we appreciate it. We appreciate you and everyone at SIG for being a good partner. So we appreciate all of you members of the HESS Consortium. We do appreciate you being a part of these webinars, and we hope that they add value to your work and to your campus and to your students. So we're glad you are here. So thanks so much, and we hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brian.